Hello, everyone, and welcome to this response video to the gamer comment, Accurate Gamer, that he responded to one of my videos on socialism. So we're going to address his points now. Okay? All right. So Accurate Gamer commented, socialists, communists like you are blinded by equality/perfect world. What you think people don't want equality and all that good stuff, everybody does. The point is that the government can go bad. In socialism, the government has a lot of power, and because of that power, they can make a good world. There is a saying, it's not you who is corrupted, but the throne that corrupts you. When you have a ton of power, you become corrupted/bad. Dictators can change their entire country if they wanted to, but how come it fails? Because if the dictator is bad, then the country is bad, and if the dictator is good, then the country is good. Adolf Hitler, despite his bad reputation, was a great dictator to Nazi Germany. The country was way stronger than the USSR, current superpower during that time, and the Germans loved their country and followed Hitler. Why do you think Germans stayed in Germany? It's because Hitler was a great dictator to them. Now look at North Korea, and the people in it are desperately trying to leave. Same thing applies to communism, socialism. When you give the government power, you need to think what would happen if it goes bad and how much damage can it cause and can we replace it if we wanted to? And this is the very reason socialism/communism fails. Because the government becomes corrupted with its power, it starts looking at their citizens as toys/puppets. The world becomes their chessboard and they do whatever they feel like to you without any morals. And by that time, you have lost your power to replace it. They take your guns to fight back. For example, China's one-child policy. That is one of the most morally effed up things to control how many kids can someone have without them having a say. But they do it anyway. Why? Because they have the power to. But here's why socialism/communism is worse and much eviler than dictatorship. With dictators, they can change their mind on morally bad things. Communism is different. When you have a group of people who are corrupted, one thing turning good/changing their mind will only end up with them being killed. At the end, the world needs to be run by the people, not the government, because if the government has a ton of power, it will turn evil. And when it turns evil, it will lose its very main purpose, which is to serve you. When the government takes your weapons, then it's what stops caring. That's when it stops caring about you because you cannot harm it anyways, in any way. I mean, look at how great we treat animals. I'm not an animal rights activist or anything, but it's common sense we don't treat them right. When we build a construction, do you care if there is an anthill or will it hurt the animals in that place? No, because as long as it doesn't harm you, you wouldn't care. And that's exactly what happens with communist/socialist parties. It's normal human psychology, and there is literally history of effed up stuff that other communist/socialist countries have done and have failed. How many more socialist/communist countries need to fail for people like you to understand? In any case, if you want a socialist country, go to a socialist country. Don't change the sweet democracy that we have here because of your stupidity. Literally, purchasing a plane ticket is easier than starting a rally. All right. Well, that was a lot. And this is fairly normal discourse by people who don't understand what socialism or communism or even what anarchism is. So let's do a little political learning. How about that? All right. So first and foremost, socialism is not a societal kind of program. It's an economic program. And what socialism is workers, i.e., you and me, not the bosses, not the managers, the workers, you and me, seizing means taking the means of production. That means if you work at a car tire manufacturer, say you work for a car tire manufacturer, I don't know, you fill the molds with the rubber stuff. I don't know anything about making tires. It's just an example. Currently, under the capitalist system that we have, you exploit yourself and the boss exploits you for your labor. Okay? So you go to work for a wage. This wage, well, it might be, $7.25 an hour, which is the federal minimum wage. It might be $10 an hour. Hell, it might even be $50 an hour or $200 an hour. I don't know what these people make, but there are people who make $200 an hour or more. And there are people who make $7.25 an hour or more. And actually, there are people who make less than that. Did you know that it is legal to pay disabled people less than minimum wage? And it often happens that disabled people, developmentally disabled, physically disabled, mentally disabled people often get paid much less than the minimum wage. Food for thought. The most vulnerable people get paid less. Why is that? That's a good question to ask. Communism. Okay, so socialism is the workers seizing the means of production. This has nothing to do with government in and of itself. Government is ubiquitous. Since people have been around, governments have been around. This is a normal process of humanity. Socialism is not a government program. It is an economic system. Okay? It's seizing the means of production. Now, communism is the next step after socialism. Okay? So communism is best portrayed in all the Star Trek series. If you want to see what a communist future or a socialist, socialism is communism. Communism is socialism, except socialism isn't communism, but communism is socialism because communism is the after part, after socialism has done its part and society is ready to then move into a classless, cashless society. And then after you have communism, you can go one step further, which is called anarchy. Okay? Anarchy does not mean chaos. Anarchy means the absence of rulers, not the absence of rules. It does not mean chaos. It means the absence of rulers. So the natural line goes socialism, then communism, and then anarchy. There is no such thing as right-wing anarchy. That's just chaos. Anarchy always has been and always will be a left-wing ideology. Okay? Always and forever. What many people get wrong is that they think socialism, communism, and anarchy are like democracy. But democracy is not an economic system. Democracy is majority rule. That has to do with laws and government. Socialism doesn't have anything to do with government. Socialism is an economic system. Economics. Communism is an economic system, a cashless and classless economic system. Within socialism, you will have the workers who seize the means of production. This means worker cooperatives, basically, and we have hundreds of worker cooperatives already in the US and thousands around the world. Google worker cooperatives around the world, and you'll see there's many. One of the most well-known is REI. REI is a worker-owned collective. And really, capitalists, you need to get over the word collective because any time two or more people are together, that is a collective. It doesn't have to have political meaning, okay? It's so frustrating to have to say these things over and over and over again. So let's look at the first line. Socialists / communists like you are blinded by equality / a perfect world. Okay. I am a realistic person. Okay. I don't think that the world will be that we could ever achieve complete equality or live in a perfect world. No, I'm not blinded by equality. I'm not blinded by this idea of a perfect world. No. What, you think people don't want equality and all that good stuff? Everybody does. Sure, everybody wants equity. I think you meant equity, not equality. Equality means we're all the same. Equity means that the playing field is level for everybody. The playing field. Okay? So the ability to live in a nice home, the ability to have access to decent food, the ability to have the things that you need and live your life with dignity. That's what socialism is. It's the ability for you to live your life in dignity, for you to have enough food, good food to eat, for you to have a safe, warm, comfortable home to live in, and for your family members to live in. This is not rocket science, guys. Socialism has been, and communism and anarchy have all been systematically demonized since the beginning of the 20th century. Downright. I mean, you call Biden a socialist? Give me a friggin' break. Biden is no socialist. He is a neoliberal war hawk. We see this because he just bombed Iraqis in Syria because he couldn't bomb the Iraqis in Iraq. He bombed the Iraqis in Syria. Yeah, great. Because that's just what the Syrians need and the Iraqis need. More bombs, right? Yeah. Woo, America. Yay. Right? I'm supposed to get excited about bombing another country? No way. I'm not a war hawk. I'm a peace loving person. It is very common for people to get socialism and communism mixed up, call them the same. One, they're not the same. Communism is a cashless, classless society, i.e., Star Trek. You want to know what communism is? Just watch Star Trek, because that's a communist society. That's how that's one version of a communist society. The point is that government can go bad. Well, really? I'm old enough to understand that any government can go bad. Government is made up by people, and not all people are good. This is a well-known fact. Does this guy think I'm some kind of stupid moron? I mean, seriously. All right, next. In socialism, the government has a lot of power, and because of that power, they can make a good world. Okay. Socialism is simply the workers seizing the means of production. The workers have the power. A democratic workplace. Socialism ensures a truly democratic workplace. What you have now is not a democratic workplace. It's an anti-democratic workplace. There is a saying, it's not you who is corrupted, but the throne that corrupts you. When you have a ton of power, you become corrupted bad. Okay, well, we see that. Look at Donald Trump. He is corrupt. He has a lot of power, and he is bad, and he is corrupt. Look at Joe Biden. He has a lot of power. He is also bad, and he's also corrupt. Look at Obama. Bad, power. Yep. Are you seeing a connection? Elon Musk. Power, bad. He might not be a part of the government, but he's still bad. Oh, let's see. Jeff Bezos. The devil. Yes. I'm not jealous of either one of these men or Richard Branson or any of the other swanky millionaires and billionaires out there. I've realized that money does not only has limited power in a person's actual life. It can buy you lots of nice things. It can also buy you power. Okay. I don't want money giving me the ability to buy power. Okay. Straight up. I believe in one person, one voice, one vote. All right, next. And you know what? Anybody can become corrupt. It doesn't matter who you are. Anybody can. Anyone. And this next part I find the absolute weirdest. This whole spiel on dictators just freaked me right out. Dictators can change their entire country if they wanted to, but how come it fails? Because dictators are bad. That's why dictators fail. That's the only really thing I can say about this. I mean, I could go into a whole thing about Hitler and Germany during right after the Weimar Republic, right before he took power, all the things that he did to get power. I've read a lot about Adolf Hitler in World War II. Do you know why I read a lot about it? Because I don't want it to happen to anybody else. That's why. I don't want this kind of thing to ever happen to anyone else for as long as I live. And after I'm gone. If a dictator is bad, the word dictator, do you not understand what the word dictator means? Let's look up the actual dictator, not didactic. Dictator. Dictator. A ruler with total power over a country, typically one who has obtained control by force. Again, a dictator is a ruler with total power over a country, typically one who has obtained control by force, a person who behaves in an autocratic way, and in ancient Rome, a chief magistrate with absolute power appointed in an emergency. Other words that are similar to dictator are autocrat, absolute ruler, tyrant, despot, oppressor. Dictatorship is inherently oppressive. I don't want to live in an oppressive state. And I don't want to know where this guy gets off thinking that, what do you think Germans stayed in Germany? It's because Hitler was a great dictator to them. Oh, really? Why don't you ask the socialists, the communists? Why don't you ask the intellectuals, the professors at universities, and then ask the Jews? If you really want to know, why don't you ask all the people, their families, of the people that the Nazis murdered? Because first they came for the socialists and the communists, then they came for the anarchists, or the socialists, communists, and anarchists, any left-leaning people they came after. Then they went after the intellectuals, and then they went after the gypsies, and then they went after the Jews. Okay, do you see a pattern growing here? What do you think Mussolini did in Italy? Pretty much the same playbook. Dictators, they only know how to do certain things, and that's kill leftists. I don't think that the Germans stayed in Germany because Hitler was a great dictator to them. That is like really dumb. And now look at North Korea, and people in it are desperately trying to leave. Okay, you need to learn something about propaganda. I need to do a show on actual propaganda. Okay. Yes, North Korea is a dictatorship. Yes, it is. Okay. I understand people wanting to leave. I do. But don't let the BS that is spewed out by the mainstream media tell you what North Korean people are thinking. Okay? Same thing applies to communism/socialism. When you give the government power, you need to think what would happen if it goes bad and how much damage can it cause and can we replace it if we wanted to? And this is the very reason, so run on. This is the very reason socialism, communism fails, because the government becomes corrupted with its power. It starts looking at their citizens as toys, puppets. What do you think they're looking at us like now? Do you think that Joe Biden really gives a crap about you or me? They look at us like we're toys or puppets. They can do whatever. If you are walking down the street, if you decide that you want to cross the street at the wrong point, you can be arrested and thrown in jail for that. You do realize that, right? We live in a quasi-police state. Look at how many men are incarcerated in this country. It's staggering. We imprison more people in Louisiana at Angola prison, just in that prison alone, than every other country combined. Do you realize that? Just in Angola. That's one prison in the US. And how many prisons do we have? A lot. There are no less than probably 50 to 60 political prisoners in prison right now. There are people who stole bread or rice and beans because they're starving to death, who are sitting in prison because they can't afford cash bail. You need to really look at the society that you live in. Get outside of your goddamn bubble and look at what is happening in the world, because this is bullshit. Absolutely bullshit what you wrote to me. The world becomes their chessboard and they do whatever they feel like to you without any morals. They're already doing it. And by that time, you have lost your power to replace it. They take your guns to fight back. Okay, here's another thing I want to discuss with you guys. And I will let you know, I did make an offer for this gentleman to come on and debate me on these points, but I haven't heard back from this person. The Second Amendment does not mean that you and your mama and your brother and your sister and everybody in your family can be armed. It literally means that in time of insurrection or civil war, or, you know, like the neo-Nazis in this country want a race war, you are not going to be able to fight back with your AR-15 against the power of the military in this country. It's not going to happen. So this talk of, oh, they're going to take my guns, it doesn't matter if they take your guns or not. Realistically, your gun does nothing to a tank. Your gun does nothing to a drone bomb. You do realize that they have fucking bombs on drones. They don't even need a person to be anywhere near you. I could be here in California in my apartment. They could send a drone over my apartment from New York or Washington, D.C., bomb me, kill me, and no one would even bat an eyelash. So this whole gun, taking our guns thing is, by all means, if you want to buy a gun, have a gun. But you know what? It's not going to save you. That's the God's honest truth. It's not going to save you. Here we go. For example, China's one-child policy. That is one of the most morally effed up things to control how many kids can someone have without them having a say. Oh, but you're okay with forcing women. I assume that you're okay with forcing women to not have abortions. So you may think that it's okay for abortion, or you may not. I don't know, but I'm gonna go with, you probably don't agree with abortion. So what gives you the right to tell another person how many children they can have? So China can't impose a one-child policy when they have too many people. You do realize the reason why they put in the one-child policy. You do realize that, right? Do you know anything about history? It's because they were dealing with an overpopulation problem. In fact, the entire world is overpopulated. Okay? It might be morally effed up to you, but you are not Chinese, so you don't have to live there. You don't have to deal with it. It's up to us and the Chinese to change that. We could put political pressure, and I think we did, because I don't think that the Chinese have the one-child policy anymore. I think that's a moot point. Let's look it up. All right. Let's see what this says. The one-child policy was part of a program designed to control the size of the rapidly growing population of the People's Republic of China. Distinct from the family planning policies of most other countries, which focus on providing contraceptive options to help women have the number of children they want, It set a limit on the number of births parents could have, making it the world's most extreme example of population planning. Although it was introduced in 1978, it was enforced in 1979 after a decade long two child policy. The policy was modified beginning in the mid 1980s to allow rural parents a second child if the first was a daughter, and then lasted 3 more decades before the government announced in late 2015 a reversion to a two child limit. The policy also allowed exceptions for some other groups, including ethnic minorities. Thus, the term one child policy has been called a misnomer because for nearly 30 of the 36 years that it existed, 1979 to 2015, about half of all parents in China were allowed to have a second child. To enforce existing birth limits of 1 or 2 children, provincial governments could and did require the use of contraception, abortion, and sterilization to ensure compliance. Oh, because the United States has never forced contraception, abortion, or sterilization on any women. I think you need to do some more reading because Black women were sterilized. Look it up. To ensure compliance and impose enormous fines for violations, local and national governments created commissions to promote the program and monitor compliance. China also rewarded families with one child in accordance with the instructions on further family planning issued by the Communist Party Central Committee and the State Council in that year. Regulations awarded 5 yuan per month for families with one child. Parents who had only one child could also get a one child glory certificate. The impact of China's birth restrictions has been hotly debated. According to its government, 400 million births were prevented. That statistic originally referred to all births averted since 1970, although later it referred to just the one child era beginning around 1980. Some scholars have disputed the official estimates. They claim that the one child program had little effect on birth rates or the size of the total population when one considers the large drop in fertility during the two child decade preceding it, and that other countries such as Thailand and the Indian states of Kerala and Tamil Nadu experienced notable fertility declines without official birth quotas. A recent study even suggests that, contrary to popular belief and its government's intentions, the one child phase of the birth program had a pronatal effect that raised birth rates above what they otherwise would have been. Yet this study has itself been disputed as an implausible erasure of the impact of this program from history. Moreover, the comparative models proposed by those dismissing official estimates as exaggerations imply that even when China's rapid development is considered, its birth program since 1970 has already averted at least 600 million births, a number projected to grow to 1 billion or more by 2060, given the averted descendants of the births originally averted by policy. The real dispute concerns what portion of that massive number of averted births and population should be attributed to the tightened one-child limits and related enforcements after 1980, as opposed to the two-child program that preceded it. You know, it's really easy to access information when you have internet. All right, so we've discussed the China's one-child policy. But here's why socialism/communism is worse and much eviler than dictatorship. With dictators, they can change their mind on morally bad things, but communism is different. When you have a group of people who are corrupted, one turning good, changing their mind will only end up with them being killed. Okay, first of all, China is not actually communist. It's not a cashless or classless society. Communism is cashless and classless. They have a class system, and they're a capitalist mixed economy, just like the United States. Socialism and communism are, again, not government, but economic systems. Economic systems. It's about the money. The money in socialism is owned by the workers. In a dictatorship, it's owned by the elites. In capitalism, it's also owned by the elites. In communism, there is no money. There is no class. Everyone is equal. Well, equal as can be, because, we have different hair colors, different heights, different weights, different interests, different ideas, different thoughts, and on and on and on and on. In a dictatorship, you have no choice. You do what the dictator says or you die. That's common knowledge at this point in 2021. Come on, Accurate Gamer. You've got to get your crap together. At the end, the world needs to be run by the people, not the government, because if the government has a ton of power, it will turn evil. And when it turns evil, it will lose its very main purpose, which is to serve you. Do you really think that the American government serves you? How is it serving you? And communism and socialism and anarchy are both government by the people. When the workers own the means of production and you have a democratic workplace, that is the people. When the government takes your weapons, that's when it stops caring about you because you cannot harm it in any ways. The government doesn't care about you anyway, whether or not you have a gun. Do you honestly think that Joe Biden cares about you? Do you actually think that Trump cared about you? Do you actually think Obama cares about you? Do you think that Mitch McConnell cares about you? Mitch McConnell calls himself the Grim Reaper. He is death. Do you think anyone who calls themselves the Grim Reaper, i.e., death, cares about other people? No. I'm very sorry to disappoint you, Accurate Gamer, but you're not accurate. You're way off the mark. You might be good at gaming, but this is not your forte. I mean, look at how we treat animals. This is true. You may not be an animal rights activist or anything, but it is common sense that we don't treat them right. Yeah, when we build construction, I'm a Buddhist, so yes, I do care if there's an anthill or will it hurt the animals in that place. I do care. You don't tell me what I care about and what I don't care about. Maybe you don't care about that. No, because as long as it doesn't harm you, you wouldn't care. That's exactly what happens with communist socialist parties. Are you fucking kidding me? What communist socialist countries? Name one. I double dog dare you. Name one that hasn't been maligned, messed with, fucked over, diddled with by the American government. You do realize that the pink tide, the pink fucking tide in South America. The American government destroyed Chavez, tried to destroy Chavez, destroyed Maduro, tried to destroy Lula in concert with Jair Bolsonaro, tried to destroy Lula da Silva. What you know about socialism and communism, I could fit on the tip of my pinky. You don't know anything. Do you know anything about Marxism, Leninism, Maoism, Trotskyism? Do you know anything about these thinkers? Have you ever heard of Fred Hampton, the Black Panther Party? Have you ever heard of Huey Newton? What about, there's so many. There's so many good writers and thinkers and ideas out there, but you're stuck in this place where you think that American exceptionalism is true. It's not. I have traveled to other countries. I have lived in another country. Let me tell you something. America sucks. I love the beauty of my country. I love how beautiful all different parts of it. I live in California right now. It's gorgeous. I've lived in New Hampshire, Georgia, Florida, North Carolina. We're getting ready to move to Utah. It's an incredibly beautiful country, but it's not the only beautiful country. Okay? There are lots of beautiful countries around the world, but you'll never know because you won't even leave your fucking yard. If you don't ever leave your city or your state, how the fuck are you going to know about anything going on? The American media and the American government lie. They lie to you all the time. And the fact that you don't know this is infuriating. It's absolutely infuriating. It's ridiculous. Anyway, I'm glad that you commented. because these are very familiar. My throat's dry. These are very familiar tropes I've heard over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. But the future is socialist. Okay? Socialism gives you back dignity. Do you remember? I don't remember because it never happened for me. I was bankrupted by the 2008 financial crisis, and I have not yet recovered from it. Anyway, nor have many people, as a matter of fact. As a matter of fact, millions of people haven't recovered from 2008 yet, financially, emotionally. Trust in the banking. I have very little trust in the banking system here. Very little. Very, very little. All right. Well, I hope that he comments again. I hope that he watches this video. And I'd like to interview him at some point if that's at all possible. So the invitation is open for Accurate Gamer to come on and talk to me. Okay? All right, everybody. I hope you have a wonderful day. Please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the little notification bell so you can get all my videos. Okay? Thank you so much. The future is socialist. Signing off on this response video. Bye-bye.